Recognize the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Heiss, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Obergefell, I want to thank you for your testimony. I want you to know sincerely that I'm sorry for your loss. And as a pastor, I say my prayers for comfort for you as you continue working through this. And, you know, I believe that we are created in the image of God, and every life deserves to be respected. And although we may have disagreements, we are here in America where we are able to have those disagreements here in a civil kind of way. But I sincerely want you to know prayers are with you as you work through this. Chief Cochran, I want to go back to you, fired by the city of Atlanta very clearly because of your religious beliefs. And in fact, Mr. Chairman, many of us in the Georgia delegation wrote a letter of support in behalf of Chief Cochran to Atlanta Mayor Kasim Reed, and I would like to have that letter submitted to the record.
Without objection.
Chief Cochran, the mayor of Atlanta stated in essence that he was disturbed by the sentiments of your book about marriage. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, you were banned from having that book distributed in the city. Is that correct?
Yes, after it came out that I had written a book. From that point forward, yes, sir.
Right, that's what I mean. And you personally had to go undergo sensitivity training?
It was a condition of my return to work, but regretfully, even though the investigation exonerated me of any discrimination, I did not have the privilege of resuming my employment as the fire chief of the city of Atlanta.
So you would have had to have undergone sensitivity training had you gone back?
That's correct.
And yet, as you just referred to again, you'd never had any accusations or any record whatsoever discrimination. In fact, you put forward, as you described, in essence, an anti-discrimination panel.
Yes, sir. In fact, because of the discrimination that I experienced as a firefighter coming through the ranks in the city of Shreveport, I just made a vow that that could not happen and would not happen under my watch, and I did everything I could to prevent it from happening.
Did you put forth that panel as far as you appointing the individuals who served?
Yes, it was a consensus development of the group because I was the new guy in town. I didn't know any of the members of the department. I relied on the council of the deputy chiefs and assistant chiefs to assemble a group of men and women that represented every people group within the department, and we did that successfully.
And so there were people on that group who did not agree with your position on marriage?
Yes, sir.
But they were still on the panel that you put together?
That's correct.
That speaks volumes as to your resistance to participating in discrimination. Do you believe that the mayor, the city of Atlanta, discriminated against you?
Absolutely.
So they did not express to you the same conduct that you had exhibited in your leadership?
That's correct.
Do you believe that they discriminated specifically because of your religious beliefs?
They made it perfectly clear that the actions they were taking against me were based upon the expressions in my book that I had mentioned about marriage and biblical sexuality.
They certainly did, and the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights actually wrote about your case that it is remarkable to claim, as the city of Atlanta does, that religious beliefs are not a matter of public concern and therefore are unprotected by the First Amendment. It is stunning to me that we can have a city like Atlanta outrightly coming forth saying that religious liberties should not be protected under the First Amendment. And again, this underscores why we need the First Amendment Defense Act. You do not waive your First Amendment right just because you work for the government, nor do you waive your First Amendment right because you go to work or you go to a church or you're at a school or wherever it is. The First Amendment applies to every citizen of this country. Ms. Waggoner, let me come to you real quickly. The pendulum of discrimination obviously swings in both directions, and what we're seeing now is government itself doing the discrimination. Can you give us real briefly some examples of that?
We have numerous cases at the state level where business owners, small business owners who hire LGBT people, serve LGBT people, have declined to create art or to promote messages or celebrate and participate in same-sex ceremonies. And as a result, they're faced with the loss of everything they own. We have a number of religious organizations who their accreditation and licensure has been an issue. And we also know of the tax exemption issues. If you would permit me, I would also like to address some of the misstatements as to what this law actually does. For example, the suggestion that employees under the penalty provision could somehow be penalized is simply not true. It does not allow termination of employees. It does not change existing law. The rights that you would have, you continue to have under federal and state law. More importantly, while we have cited different provisions that are preemptory language that is not a part of what this bill does, if you turn to Section 3, discriminatory actions are defined explicitly. They're extremely narrow. They don't focus on other provisions of the law. They don't focus on housing or those types of things. They focus on accreditation, licensure, certification, funding, and government contracts. Nothing more and nothing less. So again, these misstatements, I would encourage this committee to look at what the bill says. Don't engage in conjecture about it. And lastly, I would just add, the Mississippi decision has been raised here. Mississippi's decision is a trial court decision that was based on a preliminary injunction that if that decision is upheld, virtually every single accommodation we have provided in this nation would be eviscerated by that judge's ruling. We are confident it will be appealed, and although it didn't need to do this, FADA is very different from the Mississippi law because it covers all viewpoints. You can have a strongly held viewpoint in same-sex marriage or a strongly held viewpoint based on religious and moral convictions in opposite-sex marriage, and both beliefs are protected. That is about tolerance. That's about diversity. That's about protecting both sides. So again, look at what the provisions of this bill does. And one last point, if you wouldn't mind, Chief Cochran, if he had been in the Obama administration and this would have happened to him, there is no question FADA would protect him. Thank you.
Thank the chairman, and I likewise just hope that this marriage question does not become a litmus test for functioning in American society. Thank you, sir.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman's time has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Liu, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.